Good morning, Lisa. It is Friday, July 24th, and our cafe table looks far more neat than my desk.
Give it 5 minutes. I have a coffee, a tote bag, and 3 old receipts ready to take over.
That is why I picked today's word, scale. One small thing can grow, spread, or feel far more vast.
I like it. My bag has gone from cute to a full filing room, so I get the idea.
Today, we have scale in 3 forms: a big film launch, a huge bet on a young firm, and a sensor so slim it can hide on a face. Big screen, big cash, then a thing we can't even see. That's a fun mix. First, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey had a vast global debut. Then Cusp AI drew major funds from Jeff Bezos and the UK government. And after all that noise, we end with a face sensor that seems to say, "Please do not look at me." Exactly. Each story asks us to judge size in a new way, from raw cash to a very small bit of tech.
My bank app also asks me to judge raw cash, but it tends to make the room feel less fun.
Fair point. Before we start, subscribe if you enjoy real news in clear, natural English with 2 friends at a cafe. You bring the coffee, and we'll bring the facts, the useful words, and at least one odd bagtail. As you listen, note how we use scale for size, reach, and the way one move can touch many people. So it's not just about what's big, it's also about what a small thing can do. That's the key. Our first story starts with a trip from an old tale to a very new box office total.
I'm ready. Let's set sail before my receipts ask for their own seat.
Coffee secure?
Secure, warm, and well out of the path of the paper tide.
Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey opened with an estimated $264.1 million worldwide, a debut AP says beat the launch of his Oppenheimer. That is a lot of first weekend tickets. My 1 seat and 1 snack would feel like a grain of sand in that sum. The total came from 2 clear parts: $124.5 million in domestic sales and $139.6 million from overseas markets. So the trip was global from day one. The overseas side was even a bit larger than the domestic side. Right, a debut is the first public start, not the film's full run. Good, because a first step can be huge and not tell us where the whole trip will end. AP's headline says the film storms the box office. Storm is a strong verb that gives the launch speed and force. It also fits a sea tale. I can hear the wind, then I can hear a cinema card reader beep. That image works because the title points to a long voyage, while the sales show a very fast start.
If my Friday plan had that much force, I would finish work, wash my cup, and pick a film before lunch.
The scale is easy to miss when we hear one total. The domestic and overseas figures show how wide the first wave was. It's like one cafe bill from 2 tables, except both tables are the size of a map. And we should keep the claim exact. The launch beat Oppenheimer's debut, but our facts give no figure for that older film. So we can say it did better, then stop. No need to add a number we do not have. That kind of care is useful in English, too. Estimated tells us the total may still be checked or changed. I use that word for my snack cost before I see the final receipt. The receipt is less kind. What stays firm in this report is the shape of the news: a global start, 2 sales figures, and a Nolan comparison. And all 3 make the same point. This was not a quiet first step into the cinema. So our first view of scale is reach. A film tied its opening to viewers at home and abroad at once. That's a grand first sale. Now take me from a film voyage to the next large pile of cash. Cusp AI raised $450 million and reached a $2.6 billion value after 2 years, with major backers including a private investor and a state fund.
2 years old and worth that much? My 2-year-old laptop has gone the other way, and it still asks for an update each day.
This was a new funding round, and the state fund did not say how much it put into the deal. That last part matters.
We know the state fund took part, but we do not know its exact share.
Cusp AI had also raised $100 million last year, so this new round is much larger.
My wallet just left the chat. Even the old round is hard to picture from a cafe chair.
One way to see the scale is through its new Materials Group, a coalition of more than 48 firms and labs.
That sounds less like one small startup table and more like a whole hall full of name tags.
The group brings together major firms in chips, the web, and cars, along with other tech firms, industrial firms, and research sites.
That mix catches my eye. A chip name, a web name, and a car name are all at the same table.
The new funds are meant to aid growth abroad, with a new office in Asia and staff in several cities and the United States.
I complain when work makes me move from my desk to the kitchen. That plan spans far more ground.
The staff plan reaches Europe, Japan, and the US, so it has a broad map.
A tote bag wouldn't cover that trip. I would need one case just for all the plugs.
There's also a useful number trap in the report. The headline uses £2 billion, while the body gives the round in value we just used.
So a fast reader could mix up money raised with the value of the firm. Those are not the same thing.
Exactly. Raised tells us what came into the round. Valued at tells us what the firm was judged to be worth.
That's like the cash in my purse versus the price of the whole cafe. Very different sums.
Here, scale means a big bet and a wide network built around a firm that's only 2 years old.
And the key is to not let the huge sums blur the small but vital words around them.
A Nature research highlight says new face-worn electrodes can measure brainwaves and more, yet they cannot be seen or felt.
That is the news my morning mirror would never spot. I notice one stray hair, but not the sensor on my face.
Nature's image note says the sensor on the right was less easy to see than a common skin dressing on the left cheek.
That gives me a real point of view. Most of us know what a small patch on skin looks like.
Yes, and we should stay with what the page shows. It gives that view, the main claim, and the paper link.
No wild guess about how it works, then. We can be keen on the idea and still keep our feet on the floor.
The cited study is by Liu and other authors in Science Advances, Volume 12 from 2026.
That is enough to trace the study, while the main news stays easy to hold. The face gear is hard to sense. The phrase invisible to the eye means a person cannot see it in a normal look. I love that the key fact is so plain. It hides better than the crumb I always miss near my lip. The other phrase, cannot be felt, adds touch to sight. The pair makes the small scale feel real. It's not just thin on a chart, it fades from daily notice. And yet, its stated job is to measure brain waves and more. A tiny form sits next to a much larger task. That contrast is what gets me. My phone case is easy to see, and all it does is guard my phone. We can also use wearable as a noun or an adjective. Here, it points to tech made to sit on the body.
In my life, a wearable is a watch that begs me to stand. This one would be far less loud.
The source page did not give us a method or a test score, so we shouldn't fill those gaps. Clear limits make the story more sound. We know what was shown, and we know what was not open to us. Our last view of scale is almost a trick. The device is small in sight, but the idea holds our full gaze. A film filled screens, cash crossed borders, and now the least seen thing may be the one I keep thinking about.
Which change in today's news feels biggest to you, and why? Think about the film's global start, Cusp AI's new funds, or the face sensor we can barely see.
I pick the sensor. A vast box office is loud, but a bit of tech that fades from sight feels like a new kind of scale.
I pick Cusp AI, since one young firm now links major backers, more than 48 groups, and a broad growth plan.
We split again. At least we agree that scale is not just one big number on a screen.
Exactly. Take today's word with you. Scale can mean size, reach, or the quiet weight of a small change.
And it can mean the amount of paper in my bag, which is now a risk to this calm table.
Tell us your pick and your reason in the comments. Any language is welcome, and add a film, money, or face emoji. I want to see which story wins, and I also want proof that someone else keeps old receipts. If this cafe chat helped you, subscribe and join us for the next clear talk on real news. Bring a drink, a fresh mind, and maybe a bag with far less paper than mine. Have a great Friday, and thanks for sharing this table with us. See you next time. I'm off to face the filing room in my tote bag.